The Essentials of Pure Land Practice by Chinul. The faculties and natures of sentient beings in this degenerate age of the Dharma are dull, but their desires and habits are intense. Hence they have long been submerged in samsara, and have been unable to avoid the many kinds of suffering. Since they do not follow the advice of their teachers and friends, it will be difficult for them to gain the bliss which comes with the liberation from suffering. For this reason I have warned you all on your previous wrongdoings, so that you will be able to pacify your 5 mundane states of mind. Later, after you have overcome the 5 impediments, you will be able to transcend the 5 turbidities and climb to the top of the 9 lotus tiers. Concentrate your wills and listen to my words. First, let us consider the 5 contemplations for pacifying the mundane states of mind. 1. Sentient beings with great sexual desire should contemplate the impurity of the body. 2. Sentient beings with great hatred should contemplate loving-kindness and compassion. 3. Sentient beings with great mental distraction should contemplate counting the breaths. 4. Sentient beings with great mental distraction should contemplate cause and conditions. 5. Sentient beings with many karmic obstacles should contemplate recollection of the Buddha. Although these 5 mundane states of mind might have been pacified, this does not mean that you have left behind all worldly conditioning. It is for this reason that you are still blocked by the 5 impediments. 1. Repeated lusts and desires are called the impediment of defilements. 2. Understanding which grasps at the doctrine is called the impediment of knowledge. 3. Past actions performed out of lust for the body are called the impediment of karmic retribution. 4. Maintaining stillness through the practice of no mind is called the impediment of the noumenon. 5. Investigation of all the myriads of dharmas is called the impediment of phenomena. Since the impediments have not been overcome, you end up stagnating in the 5 turbidities. 1. A thought arises in which voidness and form are not distinguished. This is called the turbidity of the kalpa. 2. Views and opinions arise in profusion and disturb the tranquil nature. This is called the turbidity of views. 3. Perverse thoughts arise in profusion, producing the awareness of present sense objects. This is called the turbidity of defilements. 4. Arising and ceasing do not stop, but continue thought moment after thought moment. This is called the turbidity of sentient beings. 5. Each being receives consciousness in life, but does not look after their origin. This is called the turbidity of life. If the 5 mundane states of mind are not pacified, how can you break through the 5 impediments? If the impediments are not broken through, how can you purify the 5 turbidities? Accordingly, he who does not pacify the 5 mundane states of mind will face many impediments and many turbidities. Thus, through the power of samadhi engendered by the 10 kinds of recollection of the Buddha, you should gradually enter the gate of pristine morality. Once the receptacle of morality is unstained and the one thought of recollection is unified with the path, you will be able to pacify the mind, overcome the impediments and impurities, and arrive straightway at Amitabha's pure land of ultimate bliss. There you can perfect your cultivation of the 3 non-outflow trainings, and together with all other sentient beings realize the supreme great enlightenment of Amitabha. If you want to realize this path, you should cultivate the 10 kinds of recollection of the Buddha. What are the 10? 1. Recollection of the Buddha while curbing the body. 2. Recollection of the Buddha while curbing speech. 3. Recollection of the Buddha while curbing the mind. 4. Remembering to recollect the Buddha during activity. 5. Remembering to recollect the Buddha during stillness. 6. Maintaining the recollection of the Buddha while speaking. 7. Maintaining the recollection of the Buddha while remaining silent. 8. Recollection of the Buddha while contemplating Amitabha's appearance. 9. Recollection of the Buddha with no mind. 10. Recollection of the Buddha in suchness. These 10 recollections of the Buddha all center in one thought of right attention. Hence you must produce this one thought and intensify your efforts. Recollection means to maintain. If you want to keep on nurturing the true nature, it is essential to maintain the recollection and never forget it. Buddha means to awaken. You should reflect on the true mind and stay awake without allowing yourself to become dulled. Consequently, you must remain attentive to the one thought of thoughtlessness and make it full and bright. Once it is full and bright, and thoughts have been brought to an end, it is called true recollection of the Buddha. First is recollection of the Buddha while curbing the body. Killing, stealing, and sexual impropriety should be abandoned. After bodily actions have been purified, and the speculum of morality has become full and bright, You should then sit up straight and, placing the palms together and facing the west, Amitabha's Pure Land, single-mindedly and fervently recollect praise to Amitabha Buddha. Repeat this recollection innumerable times without breaking the continuity. Finally, you will forget that you are sitting, and the one thought which is united with the path will manifest. This is called recollection of the Buddha while curbing the body. Second is recollection of the Buddha while curbing speech. You must abandon false speech, flattery, duplicity, and harsh speech. Guard the tongue and absorb your thoughts. After bodily actions and speech are purified, you should single-mindedly and fervently recollect praise to Amitabha Buddha. Repeat this recollection innumerable times without breaking the continuity. Finally, the mouth will forget that it is reciting, and without utterance from the mouth, the thought of recollection itself will manifest. This is called recollection of the Buddha while curbing speech. Third is recollection of the Buddha while curbing the mind. You must remove greed, hatred, delusion, and conceit. Absorb the thoughts and cleanse the heart. After the speculum of the mind is free of thoughts, single-mindedly recollect deeply praise to Amitabha Buddha. Repeat this recollection innumerable times without breaking the continuity. Finally, the mind will be forgotten, and, without having to apply the mind, the thought of recollection itself will manifest. This is called recollection of the Buddha while curbing the mind. Fourth is remembering to recollect the Buddha during activity. You should abandon the 10 unwholesome actions and keep the 10 precepts. During all activities and in both tense and relaxed situations, you should single-mindedly recollect praise to Amitabha Buddha constantly. Repeat the recollection innumerable times without breaking the continuity. Finally, even during the busiest activities, without acting, the thought of recollection itself will manifest. This is called remembering to recollect the Buddha during activity. Fifth is remembering to recollect the Buddha during stillness. When the 10 precepts are pure, the one thought will be undisturbed. When the body is calm and one's affairs have been put in order, single-mindedly and wholeheartedly recollect praise to Amitabha Buddha alone in the deepness of night. Repeat the recollection innumerable times without breaking the continuity. Finally, even in absolute stillness, the thought of recollection will manifest without prompting. This is called remembering to recollect the Buddha during stillness. Sixth is maintaining the recollection of the Buddha while speaking. When conversing with others, calling children, or reproving servants, you should conform externally with whatever activity you are engaged in, but internally your thoughts should be unmoved. Single-mindedly and calmly recollect praise to Amitabha Buddha. Repeat the recollection innumerable times without breaking the continuity. Finally, even while speaking, you will forget that you are speaking, and, without having to recite it, the recollection will continue of itself. This is called maintaining the recollection of the Buddha while speaking. Seventh is maintaining the recollection of the Buddha while remaining silent. Once the verbal recollection reaches its climax, you will conform in silence to the thought of thoughtlessness. Whether dreaming or awake, there will be no obscuration. Whether active or quiet, you should constantly remember the recollection. Single-mindedly and silently recollect praise to Amitabha Buddha. Repeat this recollection innumerable times without breaking the continuity. Finally, you will forget that you are silent, and without consciously continuing it, the recollection will be raised of itself. This is called maintaining the recollection of the Buddha while remaining silent. Eighth is recollection of the Buddha while contemplating Amitabha's appearance. You should visualize Amitabha's body filling the Dharmadhatu, the sublime light of his golden form appearing before all sentient beings everywhere. Imagine that you sense the light of the Buddha shining on your own body and mind. Whatever you see or hear when looking either up or down, you must recognize that it is nothing other than Amitabha's light. Earnestly, in all sincerity, single-mindedly recollect to the utmost praise to Amitabha Buddha. Repeat the recollection innumerable times without breaking the continuity. Throughout the 12 hours and the 4 postures, continue the recollection constantly and reverentially without allowing it to become obscured. This is called recollection of the Buddha while contemplating Amitabha's appearance. Ninth is recollection of the Buddha with no mind. As the thought of recollecting the Buddha is developed over a long period of time, and your efforts reach perfection, you will gradually attain the samadhi of no mind. You make no effort to raise the thought of thoughtlessness, and yet it is raised of itself. You make no effort to perfect the thoughtless wisdom, and yet it is perfected of itself. You receive everything without expecting anything. You do not attempt to do anything, and yet everything you do is perfected naturally. This is called recollection of the Buddha with no mind. 10th is recollection of the Buddha in suchness. Once the thought of recollection of the Buddha reaches its climax, the understanding which is free of understanding is naturally understood. the three minds are suddenly voided, and the one nature becomes unmoving. The great wisdom of complete enlightenment becomes perfectly bright, and it alone is the holiest of all things. The one true Dharmadhatu is completely understood. This is the recollection of the Buddha in suchness. If the 10 unwholesome actions and the 8 perverse views have not been brought to an end, how can you keep the 10 precepts pure? And if the vessel of the body is not pure, and the speculum of morality is not full and bright, how can you keep the 10 recollections of the Buddha? After the vessel of the body is purified, you can store things in the Dharma treasury. After the speculum of morality is made full and bright, the Buddha's responsiveness can shine brightly. Consequently, the sutras say, although one obtains ghee of the finest flavor, if it is not stored in a valuable container, it will be difficult to preserve it. If the vessel of the body of the person who is recollecting the Buddha has been purified, and the speculum of morality has been made full and bright, how could he not preserve the taste of the true Dharma? Nowadays, the white-clothed laymen and the heretics do not bring the 10 unwholesome actions, or the 8 perverse views to an end, nor do they cultivate the 5 precepts or the 10 wholesome actions. With twisted understanding and private passions, they attempt in their delusion to perform the recollection of the Buddha. They expose the perversity of their wish to be reborn in the Western paradise. It is like trying to put a square peg into a round hole. Although such people assume they are maintaining the recollection of the Buddha, how can the Buddha's mind conform with such perverted ideas? Consequently, the sin of seeking wrongly the realm of truth and purity, while breaking the precepts and slandering the Buddha, only makes serious obstacles more severe. When they die, they will fall into hell, to the harm of their own bodies and minds. Whose fault will it be? Examination of your morality should be the model for your conduct. First, bring the 10 unwholesome actions and 8 perverse views to an end. Next, keep the 5 precepts and the 10 wholesome actions. Last, repent of your previous errors. Vow to realize the final fruition of Buddhahood. Focus your mind and establish your will firmly, so that neither birth nor death concerns you. Observe the 3 yearly periods of abstinence. Maintain the 8 seasonal observances, and keep the 6 monthly holy days. Occupy yourself with the 10 kinds of recollection of the Buddha, and over a long period of time, build their efficacy and increase your efforts until you conform easily with the recollection of the Buddha in suchness. Then every day, and at all times, whether walking, standing, sitting, or reclining, the true essence of Amitabha Buddha will secretly appear before you. He will rub your head in prediction of your future Buddhahood. At the time of your death, he will personally welcome you to the land of ultimate bliss, into a lotus flower on the 9th tier. You will then dwell facing him on that highest of tiers. Take good care of yourselves.